This month, we're gonna be talking just a little bit about facilitating meetings. And before we dive into that, I want to hear from a couple of you. What is one thing that you have seen happen in meetings that you have liked, that you have been like, oh, why can't every meeting be like this? What is that one thing that you have seen? Feel free to unmute and go ahead.
I would go first.
Okay,
Oh, sorry.
that's fine. Go first.
For me, I would say one thing I like seeing in meetings is when persons respect each other views or the comments without being judgmental. You know, whether the answer is right or wrong. I think that, I like seeing when persons just like can speak freely. That's true for me.
Thanks for sharing. And Tracy, what is one thing that you have seen?
I like meetings that are positive, like not just highlighting the challenges or the issues that we have, but meetings that, at the end of the day, we have solutions, but solutions that impact on people in a big way. So, yeah.
Thank you. So I am hearing, yes, being heard. I'm hearing good communication. I'm hearing looking at positive things, looking at good next steps. That's something I'm hearing from these two answers. And in the same way that we know what is one thing that we have seen in meetings that we like, we also know what things we have seen in meetings that we don't like. For example, I've been in meetings that I really haven't liked because someone either dominates the space and doesn't let anyone talk, or the meeting takes forever and you never know what they're trying to get to actually, or I don't know, the meeting starts very late and it doesn't respect people's time. There's a lot of things that we don't like in meetings. And thinking of the things that we like and the things that we don't like, we can, as facilitators, decide how we want to run meetings, replicating the good things and avoiding the bad things. And that is where facilitation comes in and helps us. So, facilitation in general is the process that helps us run smooth meetings and be effective and have them be democratic and participatory. And it's important because it helps keeps people interest and it helps people share more ideas and retain the members of your organization. And without good facilitation, you can run the risk of having ineffective meetings or not being inclusive. You can run the risk of losing members and losing ideas and having conflicts between members that usually come out simply because of bad communication and no other problem than just communication issues. So, one thing that we have to keep in mind about facilitation is that it starts before the meeting. It's not just showing up at the meeting and figuring it out, but before the meeting, we need to choose people for roles. And some roles, for example, can be timekeeper, the person that tracks how much time we're spending on each topic, or note taker, or facilitator, or vibes watcher, the person who is noticing, especially in long meetings, if people are looking tired, if they're looking hungry, if they're looking sad or angry or whatever. And some roles in our meetings, for example, are facilitators for checking or closing, facilitators for country updates, note takers, and others. So all that starts before the meeting. It's also good practice to set some ground rules within your own group, create your own group culture, and set some examples like we usually start on time, or we don't last longer than an hour and a half, or we separate time to like get to know each other on call. So ground rules help set good communication and also set a strong team culture. And also, it's very important to set an agenda before your meeting so you can come prepared and know what you're going to talk about. And some methods of facilitation when you're talking with a group, trying to figure out ideas, trying to figure out those positive next steps, and getting a good communication include having open-ended questions, not just directing the conversation on getting people to answer yes or no, but getting them to be open and share full ideas and good feedback. So to do that, we use questions like how, why, where, and when to open the conversation. We also use clarifying questions like how do you see that? Can you be more specific? Can you re explain that? And many other ways that we can make sure that we are understanding folks and that they are sharing everything that they want to share. Uh, we can also have probing questions out to the group, and we can throw out questions reflecting back on things that were talked about between them. And another important thing to keep in mind is bridging between context and making good transitions. So especially if we have set time between topics, it's obviously normal that sometimes a topic takes longer than we plan to be discussed, especially if it's an important part of the agenda. But it's important to make strong bridges between topics and connect distractions and connect them back to the things that we're talking about, and making good and efficient transitions between the topics in the agenda. And it's always good practice to acknowledge great contributions from someone in the team. And in general, some good practices around facilitation include starting and ending on time. It's very important to respect people's times. Don't spend too much time on one thing because people get tired. You lose the chance of talking about other things that can be important, and it can be frustrating to people that have different roles or have to report back and then don't have time or space for their topic. Keep announcements to a minimum so you don't confuse people, and you can offer them always in a written version. It's in person, it's always good practice to sit in a circle so everyone can see each other. Have an agenda and set times for each item. Like we're gonna talk 10 minutes about this and 5 minutes about other thing and 20 minutes about this next thing. And also say the items of the agenda before the meeting so people can keep track of where we're at and what we're discussing. Encourage participation and make sure that not everyone talks all at once. And you can always use hand signals. For example, if someone is talking and you don't want to interrupt them and pause the meeting to say, excuse me, I don't hear you, you can set in your group a norm that is like doing like this, for example. And when you do this, the person knows that you're asking them to speak louder. That is one hand signal. For example, or also the sparkles. When you like something that someone say, you can use sparkles instead of stopping the conversation just to say, I agree and I like what you said because of blah blah and repeating the same thing. You can do sparkles to agree. It's also good to review decisions and next steps at the end of meetings to kind of circle back and get through everything that was discussed. Have small actions that people can take so that they can have a role and feel useful through the meeting. You can rotate facilitators, create your ground rules, introduce new people. That sometimes sounds a bit obvious, but sometimes people forget to introduce new people, and the new people tend to feel awkward and like they don't know anything or what's happening. So remember to introduce new people. And it's also good practice to evaluate meetings, get feedback on how they went, what can you repeat, what can you avoid next time. You can plan the agenda as a group so everyone can put their input. You can have food, especially if it's meetings around dinner time or something, that can be super useful. And most importantly, have fun. Meetings don't have to be all about work and all about next steps. Organizing is a lot about relationship building, and we can't be good social change makers if we are stressed, if we're not having fun. So remember to set some time in meetings. It doesn't have to be every single meeting, but occasionally remember to always have fun. So this is just a little bit in general about facilitation. And I hope that when you facilitate your next meeting in your local group, you can check back through this list and bring this to your members as well and see what can you continue doing that is working and what new things you can bring to your meeting. So thank you for being part of this learning space today.